Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showcasing a team that I think works very well in the Retro Cup. Ultra League is coming back tomorrow, and for those of you who don't like to play Ultra League, I got you covered with this team for Retro Cup if you want to continue playing a Great League format. This team is very consistent. I managed to go 3 4-1s in a row with this team, so that's out of 20 games, I won 16. The team is basically Shadow Dragonite on the lead, with Vigoroth on the safe swap and Lantern in the back. Dragonite does a good job of covering for the weaknesses that the two in the back have, so basically Dragonite can take care of the fighters, which Vigoroth is going to be weak to, and it can take care of the mud boys like Whiscash and Quagsire and Swampert, which Lantern is going to be weak to, and the grass types, which Lantern is also weak to. And then Lantern and Vigoroth are going to be taking care of the ice types, which are the biggest weakness for Dragonite in this cup. The team is core broken by Abomasnow, but I didn't see a lot of Abomasnows in the sets that I played. I did see one, and I just top left against that. Like, there's nothing you can do against it if you swap Vigoroth into it and then they have an answer to Vigoroth. Unfortunately, Abomasnow does wreck this team. Also, Cresselia is a little bit tricky to deal with, but you can deal with it with this team. And I have several examples of how I took care of Cresselia. Now, there are different variations of this team that you could run. You can change out the Dragonite for either Shadow Dragonair or even Altaria. You'll have a tankier team with Altaria on the lead. And you can also change out the Lantern for Poliwrath. I had some friends who were running Poliwrath in the back, and it was working very well for them. Also, you gotta love that Vigoroth got buffed, because now I have an excuse to use this really goofy drawing I did of it several years ago. Also, I don't think I've ever had this many people top left against a team before, ever, like in my GBL experience, so this team works really well. A lot of teams are actually core broken by Lantern and Vigoroth. So yeah, let's get into these battles. I actually have some really nice ones for you guys today. Okay, the first battle I included, I just wanted to show because I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. You'll see what happens, but basically we lead Dragonite into a Lantern, and then my opponent swaps into Medicham. And then I am going to throw the Dragon Claw. I managed to take a shield from them, and then I'm going to bring in my own Lantern, and they go for a Dynamic Punch. Unfortunately, it does a ton of damage, so Medicham with Dynamic Punch is still pretty strong, because Dynamic Punch can actually hit for a lot if it is neutral. Now, this is where things go wrong. I get a notification and I wanted to swipe up on the notification, but then my app just closes and I freak out. And unfortunately, the Medicham is able to double Ice Punch my Lantern and take it out. And I had so much energy on my Lantern, I could have reached a Surf and then taken out their Medicham. But unfortunately, I'm in a situation where I actually don't know how much energy the Medicham has. If it can reach an Ice Punch, that could be deadly for my Dragonite. But it looks like we're going to be okay because my opponent actually swaps out into Lantern against my Dragonite, and then I am able to put it in a range where I can counter it down with Vigoroth, and with energy. My opponent has 0 shields. They had a Charizard in the back, and I was able to Rock Slide and one-shot the Charizard. GG's to our opponent. On to the next game, we are going to see a Shadow Dragonair on the lead. What I do in this lead is I stay in, go straight for the Dragon Claw. We will usually CMP on the charged move, and they will either let their Shadow Dragonair go, or they will shield to maintain alignment, and in that case, I can usually bring in my Vigoroth and farm down and have energy on it for whatever my opponent has in the back, and I will have shield advantage. However, in this case, it looks like my opponent is going to be running 2 Fire Flying types in the back. Mad respect for the Shadow Ho-Oh, by the way. But unfortunately for my opponent, it looks like they are going to be core broken by Lantern, and Lantern is going to be able to sweep their entire backline. They should have tried to draw out the Lantern with one of their Fire Flying types by swapping immediately when they saw the Dragonite. But also Shadow Dragonite beats their entire backline, so there was nothing really my opponent could do. So GG's to them. Moving on to the next game. This is a really good one, by the way. We lead Shadow Dragonite into Crustle, so I'm immediately going to swap into my Vigoroth, and I'm going to go ahead and let whatever this is go. It is an X-Scissor. I am going to bait with the Body Slam so that I will be able to reach a Rock Slide before my opponent can throw another move. They do manage to catch the Rock Slide, however, I should have waited a turn. They catch it on a Credilli, which is actually okay. This means that this Credilli is going to be aligned with my Dragonite. Unfortunately, I am going to have to probably double shield the Dragonite here. Let's see, we shield the first Rock Slide. Can they make it to another Rock Slide? Oh, that's right. We catch the second rock slide on our lantern and they are in spark range now. They can't reach another move on their Credilli. Unfortunately, they are going to have a Shadow Victory Bell in the back. They're going to go ahead and melt my lantern, and now it's going to be all up to Dragonite to win this game. I'm going to go straight for that Dragon Claw against the Victory Bell because I don't want to get debuffed by an Acid Spray. And I am able to Dragon Breath the Crustle down before they take us out. They were one smackdown away from taking out my Dragonite. That was so close. GG's to our opponent. On to the next game, we are going to see a Shadow Quagsire on the lead. This matchup is actually very favorable for Dragonite because the Quagsire is going to need to reach a Stone Edge to take us out. They let the Dragon Claw go, and that puts them really, really low in the red. All I have to do now is shield the Stone Edge and Dragon Breath them down. And my opponent is going to bring a Poliwrath into the Dragonite. That means that they are core broken by Dragonite. I'm going to go for a Dragon Claw, take a shield from them, and then I'm okay with letting my Dragonite go here. I'm going to bring in my Lantern and spark down the Poliwrath completely. There is nothing that Poliwrath can throw on Lantern that is going to be neutral. And it looks like they're also core broken by Lantern. Okay, so the backline is going to be swept by Lantern. I'm going to be able to go for the Surf against the Crocalor, take their final shield, and then I'm just going to bring in my Vigoroth because I can go for a Rock Slide against this Crocalor. And this next crunch isn't even going to be enough to take out the Vigoroth. 2 crunches, the Vigoroth survives. We take the Crocalor out with the Rock Slide, and then my opponent top lefts because I still have a full health Lantern against the Poliwrath. GG's to our opponent. On to the next game, we are going to see a Talonflame on the lead. My entire team has an answer to Talonflame. Now I do have to watch out for a potential Grass type in the back because I am expecting my opponent to have a Lantern answer in the back. We're both going to invest the shield, and then my opponent swaps in Credilli, and I am going to catch the Rock Slide on my Vigoroth because Grass Knot is going to hurt a lot more, and I actually can't take 2 Grass Knots on Vigoroth. I can take a Rock Slide and a Grass Knot, however. I'm going to let the Grass Knot go here, and then I am going to go for a Rock Slide against this Credilli. They choose to let their Credilli go, and then they are going to bring back in their Talonflame. Now, instead of bringing in my Dragonite, I am going to bring in my Lantern, but I did a mistake here. I didn't wait for my switch timer, so I was switch locked against this Roserade. Unfortunately, I had to stall with that Surf, and then I'm going to bring in Dragonite and go for that Dragon Claw. And I am going to shield this Weather Ball, however, because I want to make sure that I am able to take out this Roserade. I'm going to go for a Dragon Claw, take the Roserade out, and then my opponent is going to top left. GG's to our opponent. On to the next game, you guys are going to see what this team is weak to. It is weak to Abomasnow. I'm just going to swap in Vigoroth and Prey, and they have a Poliwrath. So we just top left there. There's nothing really we can do. But even with that one unfortunate loss, we were still able to go 4-1 in this set with this team. Again, really consistent, really strong team. Highly recommend it if you are looking to climb. Moving on to the next game, we are going to see an Oranguru lead. Now, Psychic types are actually really strong in this cup. I ran into a lot of people running double Psychic. You have to excuse my timing here. I got a little carried away with the Dragon Breaths. I tried to do 3, I ended up doing 4, unfortunately, so threw on alignment, threw that Dragon Claw on alignment. We do manage to take a shield from them, however, they shielded the Dragon Claw, and then I'm going to bring in Vigoroth, and I caught a Trailblaze on my Vigoroth, but that means that they will buff their attack, and the next move did so much damage, the Foul Play, but we were able to live it with a little bit of HP and take the Oranguru out. Now I wait out my switch timer before I bring in Lantern against this Talonflame, and they have a Shadow Dragonair in the back. I thought that this might be over, but I was able to chip the Shadow Dragonair with a Thunderbolt, swap into my Dragonite, do as much Dragon Breath damage as I could, and then I got the Dragonair into a range where I could just spark it down, have so much energy for this Talonflame. I'm just going to have to take out their shield, but they decided to let the Surf go. And that means I'm going to be able to spark them down. One Fly is not going to be able to take our Lantern out, and we take that win. GG's to our opponent. On to the next game, we are going to see a terrible lead of Aurorus into our Dragonite. I'm immediately going to swap into Vigoroth, and my opponent brings in an Altaria. This is actually not too bad now that I have Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to be super effective against the Altaria, and they let the first one go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to win this switch. I'm just going to go for these Body Slams now, and they let the Body Slam go. We're able to counter them down, and then they bring in a Cresselia. Okay, this is very tricky, both Dragonite and Lantern are not going to like this Cresselia. I'm just going to do as much body slam damage as I can, and then here they're going to be able to throw Grass Knot, but unfortunately it doesn't take us out, and they get so much farm on this Cresselia, and this is like the worst case scenario for us right now. They do, however, swap into Aurorus and let me align my Lantern to their Aurorus, which is okay, but they still have 2 shields, so I can't really see a win condition for us now. Gonna go for a Surf, take their first shield, and then go for a second Surf. We do see MP tie, however, they're gonna go for a Weather Ball. It doesn't take us out, but they are going to be able to Powder Snow us down and have so much energy for my Dragonite, so this is basically game over. GG's to our opponent. We take a loss there. We were really core broken by the Cresselia, and unfortunately, we had a really, really bad lead of Aurorus against their Dragonite. But moving on to the next match, we are going to see another Cresselia, but this time it's aligned to our Dragonite, so it's kind of okay because these Dragon Breaths are going to hurt. Now, they only did 6, so I know that I can no-shield this. It's just a Grass Knot, and they bring in a Lantern. I'm going to go for this Dragon Claw. Let's see if they shield. They don't shield, so we put them in the yellow, and then I catch a Surf on my own Lantern. Now I want to try to leave this matchup with as much energy as I can so that I could throw all of this energy at the Cresselia. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go for the Thunderbolt. I'm going to go for a Surf, undercharge it so that I can spark this Lantern down, have so much energy for the Cresselia when it comes back in. It is energy dry, so I'm just going to go for a Thunderbolt here, and they do shield. However, unfortunate for us, I kind of need to get some damage off, and here I actually could have gone for another Thunderbolt, but I was worried I wouldn't survive the Psycho Cuts. I bring in Vigoroth, and they let me get a really big energy lead before swapping into Skeledirge. Now I can go for these Rock Slides. We take their final shield, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let the Disarming Voice go on Vigoroth, bring in my Dragonite. I have energy. I can go for that Dragon Claw against the Skeledirge, and I attempt to Dragon Breath them down. Unfortunately, they survive with 1 HP. I'm going to go ahead and shield this Disarming Voice, and all I have to do is reach a Body Slam against the Cresselia because it is very low, and a Body Slam should be able to take it out. We had a shield left also if the Cresselia decided to throw a move. GG's to our opponent. We take that win. Moving on, we are going to see a Skeledirge on the lead. This is fine, but my opponent decides to swap out into a normal type cast form. Very interesting choice from my opponent. I'm going to bring in Vigoroth, and I'm going to go for a Body Slam, but then after the Body Slam, I'm going to counter it down completely and have some energy stored up for the Skeledirge. Unfortunately, we do have to take 2 Weather Balls from this cast form. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw on Good Timing. I know this was a little bit risky, but I do go for that Rock Slide, and they let it go. Actually, this is really good for us. Instead of bringing in Dragonite, I am going to bring in my Lantern, and my opponent actually goes for a Disarming Voice instead of a Shadow Ball. We're able to spark it down completely, and then my opponent brings in a Credilli. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in with Lantern actually because I wasn't sure if this Credilli would be able to reach 3 Rock Slides against my Dragonite. That could be really bad. So the plan was to chip it and put it in Dragon Breath range. However, they shielded one of our Surfs, so now I can bring in Dragonite, go for 2 Dragon Claws against this Credilli, 1 to take out their final shield and 1 to take them out, but my opponent realizes it's over. They no-shield the Dragon Claw, and we're able to take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the final game of this video, we are going to see a Sceptile lead. I just have to watch out for the breaking swipes. I think 1 would come close to taking out the Dragonite. I'm pretty sure it would take out the Dragonite. But I'm going to go ahead and shield, and then I go for a Dragon Claw, and they invest a shield as well. I'm going to go ahead and invest my second shield because I want to win the lead. I think if I win the lead, I'll be able to RPS the backline. They bring in a Mag Cargo, and I'm going to immediately swap into my Vigoroth because I have 2 answers to Mag Cargo in the back. And I'm so glad I did this because I was able to draw out a Whiscash. They swap out of their Mag Cargo into Whiscash. This is so good for me. This means that Lantern isn't going to see Whiscash. I'm going to be able to take it out with Vigoroth and Dragonite, and then my Lantern is going to be aligned to their Mag Cargo, and Mag Cargo isn't going to be able to do anything to Lantern. We are going to be able to take this win, and that will give us another 4-1 set, and that brings us to the end of this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please consider subscribing, maybe leaving a like. I hope you learned something, and let me know if you guys use this team and if it works out for you. If you guys have any suggestions, please make sure to leave them in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!